When I invest in real estate, my goal is a 7% cash on cash return. In the stock market, you get dividends. Here, I call it a cash on cash return. In commercial real estate, this is called a cap rate. What this means is for every dollar that I invest, how much cash flow am I going to make after paying for my expenses? This is money that's going to hit my bank account and that I get to keep. This is kind of like your net income or your profit. There's a lot of words for this. So what that means is for every dollar that I invest, I want to see 7 cents of profit after paying for my expenses, my property taxes, my insurance, my maintenance and management fees, my vacancy costs, anything in between, all of my costs or my mortgage if I have one. I want to see 7 cents back for every dollar that I invest. This does not include appreciation. When I invest in real estate, I'm not looking for price appreciation. That's not my goal. If home prices go up, that's the icing on the cake. But that's not how I make my investment decisions. I make my investment decisions based off of this number. If I can see this cash flow in a growing area, remember, just like how in the stock market you're investing in the asset, not the cash flow, it's the same thing here. When I invest in real estate, the first thing I'm looking for is where am I investing? Is this an area where populations are growing, where the money is moving to, and where people are moving to? If yes, then I will consider it. Because if people are moving out, young people don't want to live there, crime is going up, that's not a place where I want to park my money. Because this is a long-term play. This is a place where I want to keep my money for a long term, where I want to see rent prices grow because the value of this area is growing. More and more people want to be here. This is a growing area. This is where people want to be. So this is where rents are going to be higher in the future. That's where I want to invest my money. So how do you find this? Well, you got to look around. And for me, the way that I run my numbers is now I take how much money that I invest and I put in my expenses. And yes, you can estimate these expenses. Talk to your real estate agent. Talk to the city assessor, because you might not know what the property taxes are going to be when you purchase it, but your city assessor will, and they can help estimate those numbers. Talk to an insurance advisor. Talk to an insurance broker. They can give you an estimate as to how much your insurance costs are going to be. You can get a good estimate as to what your expenses are going to be on this property. And that way then, when you take a look at what the estimated rent is, because if you have a good realtor, they will tell you how much you'll be able to rent this property out for. And you can also ask your property manager how much you're going to be able to get in rent. When you see what the rent is, you can get an estimated cost, add in a little bit of miscellaneous costs, because there's always going to be some extra costs. Add in your maintenance costs, add in your management costs, add in your vacancy costs, add in your property taxes, add in your insurance. And that leaves you now your net income, your profit. And now you can decide, is how much money you're going to make, if there's any money left over, going to be enough for you? And the reason why I say it like this is because there are some parts of the country where you're going to see very teeny tiny returns, if any. I remember when the markets are booming in 2021 and 2022, I was looking at real estate around the country. And I remember looking at some properties in Austin, Texas, and Arizona, where there were these apartment complexes being sold at a 1 cap, meaning a 1% return on my money, where if I invested $1 million of my own money, the return that they were estimating was $10,000 a year in cash flow after all the expenses, and even that was kind of a stretch. For me, that didn't make sense. But for other investors, the reason why they like that deal is not because of the cash flow. That was besides the point. They didn't even care about the cash flow. What they were hoping for is to buy this $1 million property, that way I can flip it for $2 or $3 million in the future. That's not the game that I play, because that's speculation. I have no idea how much I'm going to be able to sell this property for in 3 or 4 years, because I don't know where the economy is going to be. I don't know where the markets are going to be. I don't know where interest rates are going to be. I don't want to play that game. But I can understand much better how much rent I can get this year, next year, the year after that, and the year after that. And if I can make enough money from my rent to cover my expenses and put some money in my pocket, that's something I will consider investing in, because that's what I can estimate. I don't like to play that speculation, flip it in a few years game, because well, I have no idea what's going to happen in 5 years. If property values and rental values go up, great. If property values come down, oh well, I still get my cash flow. If we enter a recession and I have to cut rents, okay, I have enough margin in the deal where I can still cut rents and still be profitable. I'm a conservative person, and the reason why is because I made a lot of dumb mistakes. I have screwed up many times, and so that's why I like to be very picky with my deals, because I have screwed up a lot of times. And so I want to make sure that I can protect myself and have margin in the deal. That way, when something goes wrong, because something will always go wrong that you don't expect. That's kind of the name of the game with real estate. But that's why I want to have some margin in there. Now, the difference between real estate and stocks is obviously Well, it's more difficult to start with real estate. You have to find the team. You have to find a property manager. I don't manage my properties myself. I hire a property manager. These are people that are going to lease the property. They're going to deal with the tenants. They're going to screen the tenants. They're going to handle the repairs. They're going to work with the contractors. They're going to work with the cities. They're going to pay all the bills. They're going to do all of that. The reason why a lot of people don't like working with property managers is because they take money right off of the top. A good property manager might take 8%, 9%, 10%, even 12% in some instances right off of the top before you see a penny. And a lot of people don't like that. Well, I don't like dealing with tenants a whole lot more than that. So for me, I'd rather pay a fee, that way I can buy my time back and have a good property manager. The second part to this is people will say, well, there are some bad property managers out there. You bet yourself there are. And I have dealt with all of them, it feels like. I have dealt with a lot of bad property managers. I have had to fire a lot of property managers. I've been screwed over many times by property managers. But then I go out and find a new one. It's part of the game. Okay, if you don't want to do it, don't get involved with real estate. If you're willing to do it, you can see some huge returns and get a lot of benefit out of it, but it's not for everybody. But you got to understand that if you want to really be an investor, not a manager, I don't want to be paid for my hours to manage properties. That is not the game that I want to do. I have a business I got to run. I don't got time to sit there and talk to tenants, and I don't want to do that either. I have other things that I want to do, so I'd rather pay a property manager that fee. Then once it's passive for me, I also want to make sure now that the property manager understands my goals, my intentions, and they're the ones that are paying the bills. And now they're also going to be working to make sure that these properties generate a profit, because now these property managers will generate a monthly report and a quarterly report and an annual report of each one of my properties. That way then I spend my time reading the reports. How much money are these properties making? Are properties losing money? What are the expenses? What are the repairs? And is there something that needs to be changed? Then I can read through these, talk to the property manager, and decide if we need to make changes, how we can improve things, and see how we can continue growing the profits. So if you're thinking about investing in real estate, know your game. For me, the game is cash flow. And this is where you got to know where you're going to look. If you want to find good cash flowing properties, there are certain parts of the country, certain parts of the states where you're going to find better cash flowing deals than others. The Midwest, I'm from Detroit. Our office is in downtown Detroit. Michigan has great rental locations. If you haven't seen Michigan yet, don't count it out. Michigan is a beautiful state. I've spent a lot of time in many different states. Michigan is absolutely beautiful, and you can get some great cash flow. These types of deals do exist. Maybe they don't exist in Miami. Maybe they don't exist in Los Angeles. Maybe they don't exist in Manhattan. But you will see it in other parts of the country, which means if you want to invest in real estate and you live in one of the big cities, you might have to look elsewhere. Maybe you have to go to a different part of the state. Maybe you have to go to a different state. But real estate is much more involved. You got to be willing to talk to people. You got to be willing to hire people. You got to be willing to see different locations. You got to be willing to go through properties, and you got to be willing to get kicked in the face, because it is tough in the beginning. Just like with stocks, right? We said stock market investing is a 10-year game. It's the same thing with real estate.
If you enjoyed this clip and you want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you gotta do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join the Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.